Okay, so we turned the machine on. There was a question mark there. We went ahead and say, hey, what kind of refrigerant do we have in here? You select that, and they will tell you, hey, we have R134, confirm it. You confirm it, go through the process. It'll do a confirmation like calibration, and once that's done, it will show the R134 right there. You're a little low in Freon in the tank. If you get below 5 pounds, you want to refill this thing. So we're okay for right now, but we're probably gonna want to refill it next service. Okay, so we're gonna do a recovery right now on this machine. So right now we're doing R134. We're gonna do a Honda right now. Let's go ahead and hook it all up. So it's really easy to follow. All you gotta do is follow the instructions of the whole thing. Let's go to recovery. Okay, you want to recover? Yes. Go next. Yes is green, okay? Refrigerant identification, just select the green arrow, okay? It's gonna go through a process of clearing the system if there's any kind of like air or refrigerant still stuck in here. And it's going to clear it out. And the reason why it's gonna clear it out is because it wants to test the refrigerant in the system to make sure it's R134. It wants to make sure it's clean refrigerant. So it has to take away whatever in the line, air and everything, and that way get an accurate reading. So we're gonna let it do its thing right now, and once it's done, we'll hook it up. Okay, so the machine did its process. Just follow the instructions. It wants to hook up the blue side, well, low side, which is the blue hose, and open the coupler. So we got, Pedro, can you go ahead and hook the blue side? Perfect. So what we're gonna do right now is basically it's gonna do a refrigerant identification test on this. Make sure that it's actually R134 in the system, and there's nothing else that is in there that shouldn't be in there. So and sometimes they get a little sticky, and if that happens, you could always use dielectric grease. So just grab it like this, kind of massage it on. That's all you gotta do. And you open it. Okay, you hear the air go out? Well, not the air, the refrigerant. Okay, so we should see pressure here. So the pressure is showing, if it's below, I believe 50, or it might be 40, it won't be able to read the amount of Freon in the vehicle, but we're good at 65. Now, if it's below, what you can do to go around that to get the pressure higher, you can let the car idle for a little bit to get the heat, okay? That helps it to basically make a higher pressure. Now keep in mind, if you have have the AC off though, okay? Because if you have the AC on, you're gonna be going in a vacuum, and then you gotta wait for it to go back up. So just turn the AC off, turn the car on, let it idle, and a hot motor will actually help you with the vacuum. So a lot of times, I will actually let the car idle for a little bit before I pull a vacuum, because it will help with that. So in this case, we got plenty of pressure. We're gonna go next. So at this point, it's gonna go through a identification process, okay? And then if it passes, it'll show R134 and any kind of percentage of air that might be in the system. If there's air in the system, that's usually due to a prior maintenance done that had air injected in there accidentally. And that could be done because someone injected oil that didn't purge the line correctly of all the air, or they recharged it and it purged the air out of the lines. So air doesn't just go in naturally, okay? Or they didn't do a good vacuum and they had air always trapped in there and they recharged it. That could be a possibility too. So it's gonna do its process right now. While it's doing that, a couple things to talk about. When I pull these caps off, I always kind of see if I have a lot of oil around there. Also any kind of dye. That tells me if the car's been serviced before. Little kind of like evidence that helps me with my diagnosis. In this case, we're just doing a recharge, not for a customer complaint, but more for maintenance. But it's good to see that though, okay? While it's doing this process too, you can always, if you're doing, say, if I'm trying to find a leak in the system, you can always go ahead and start looking at the condenser and see if you see any kind of dye or anything that might be showing any kind of leaks in the vehicle. So, all right, we're gonna let it do its calibration and then we'll be right back. Okay, so we're done. This vehicle had 99% purity, but it had 6.5% air in it. So it did have air in the system. So I'm glad we're gonna do the service on this car so we can make sure that we pull all that air out and we charge it correctly. So at this point, we go ahead and press next. Now we're gonna attach the high side and open the coupler. So again, just read the instructions. Open a high side coupler. Let's go and attach that. Now you notice that Pedro had a little hard time putting it on. He's got to remember, nothing. If you're trying to force something, it's not going on right. He's got to kind of stop and think what's going on with it. Okay, open it, go clockwise. There we go. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now you can see the pressure here. And by the way, I kind of look at it really quick before I discharge it. Did it equalize out correctly? Now the car has been sitting for a while. It should be equal on most cars. Some won't be that way, but most cars should be equal. If you see that it's been sitting for a while and this is at like 30 and this is at like 100 or right where it's at, then you may have a block in the expansion valve. So before you recover everything, look at this as your first sign to some possibilities that you might have a stuck closed expansion valve. Okay. Now typically if you have the car running for a little bit, and let's say then you turn the car off. Now running, the AC is bringing down to like 25, 30, and then when you turn it off, it will slowly rise up, Some cars take a little bit longer. It could take like 45 minutes, some to get done in a few minutes. So doesn't mean it's bad if it's 45 minutes, it just means that, hey, just kind of remember that if you have a problem, if it's not moving at all, then you might have a stuck closed expansion valve. Okay. So we had that done, go next. Make sure your hoses are connected. Yes, they're connected. Okay, it's gonna go through the recovery process. And basically what will happen is it has to get down to a certain vacuum until it says I'm done. It will do that in probably about 10 minutes. So we're gonna cut the camera, but we're gonna get this down to a negative vacuum, and we'll come back from there. Okay, so the vehicle has now recovered the entire refrigerant out of there. It's in a vacuum state. It's now saying, hey, how much oil came out? At this point, I already know no oil came out because I was marking at 2 ounces and nothing increased from there. So nothing came out. Let's go ahead and go next. I'm gonna put 0, I guess. I'm gonna put next. Okay, so I was gonna say, hey, I recovered 0.46 pounds. This vehicle takes, I'm guessing, at least 1 pound of Freon. So this thing is half full. Good example of a vehicle that has not a cooling problem, but it's going to burn the compressor out because it's a low on Freon. When it's low on Freon, the oil cannot circulate the system and therefore lubricate the compressor correctly. So yes, this will be a problem for a long term on this car. So good, I'm glad we're doing this thing. So 0.46 has been recovered. We're good with that. Go to the main menu. We're now going to do a vacuum. So we're going to go vacuum. Go next. I like to always do at least 45 minutes vacuum time. Okay. Now the car has been exposed to elements like a condenser was disconnected for a long period of time. I might even go an hour and a half, 2 hours on it. You know, you could go 30 minutes. I like 45 is a good safe bet. So customers are paying for a good quality job. Extra 15 minutes, not that much more time. And the reason why you're doing a vacuum, you're taking out any excessive Freon, but most importantly, you're taking out moisture. As it drops in pressure, goes in a vacuum, the moisture will start to evaporate and boil off. So that's what we're going to attempt right now. Go next. Make sure the hoses are connected, which they are. And walk away for 45 minutes. It'll start beeping when it's done. That's it. Okay, so 45 minutes has passed. We have completed the vacuum. It says complete. We're gonna go ahead and press the green check mark. Okay, so we did recovery, step 1, step 2, vacuum, step 3 is charge. So let's go to charge. Go and charge the system. Go next. can ask, hey, do you have a high voltage system on this car? Well, if this is a hybrid, then we do. If it's not a hybrid, then we're fine. It's not a hybrid. If it's a hybrid, it's just a different process and how the machine goes is follow the instructions. And since it's not, press the red button. All right, how much refrigerant do you want to add to it? Right now we're in the pounds. So we're gonna look at this thing in pounds that it shows at. Okay, where is it? Should be a little yellow thing somewhere around here. You just gotta kind of find it. Usually it's on the cowl, or it's over here. Okay, so this one here, it takes maximum 0.425 kilograms, which is 15 ounces, and the minimum's right there. So we're gonna go down to 15 ounces. So we're gonna get the conversion here. So 15 ounces is what we need. We're gonna go to the conversion chart, click that. We wanna do in ounces. Next. All right, so 15. Double check, 15. I always like to double check. Make sure one more time. Yep. 15, okay. I usually say add it to both sides. Go next. Make sure all connected. We did not disconnect anything, so it's good. Great, it's gonna do a charge right now. Let it do its thing. It'll beep when it's all done. That's it. Okay, so right now it has completed its charge. This is where the low side's at, high side. It has added 15.3 ounces, so we're good with that. Next thing we'll say, do you want to go car health? And that's where you can start the vehicle and see where the readings are coming out. So we're gonna try that right now. Okay, so we have the vehicle now started. We're gonna put the temperature probe in the vehicle. So we got it started. Okay, so right now it's 79 degrees. We just started the vehicle, put the temperature probe in there. So what you want to do is roll up the windows. When you guys do this, you got to have the windows up, okay? And you want to have center dash, the probe in there, AC max, recirculation, full blast. You're gonna need about 10 minutes to really get the true reading of what it is, because it is going through a cycle. So already, it's not a hot day, so it's gonna we're gonna see some cycling going on. We're at 50 degrees right now. Something drops down around 25 and cycles back up. Now, the reason why it's probably cycling a little faster is because it didn't need to work that hard. It's still pretty, it's not a hot day today, and it's getting pretty cold inside, okay? One thing I look at too, I like to see, is how cold this feels, this low side. And this is very cold to the touch, and you actually will see some condensation. Just a little bit of water right there. Grow around there, that's a good sign as well. Let it run through. This fluctuation is not a big deal. This gauge just kind of does that. But you can even look at this. So it looks like around 25 PSI on the low side. That's when the vehicle says, hey, that's low enough, and it cycles through again. So you can see it's not too high on the high side, but this is all normal readings. You know, we're getting around 20 to 40. This is not a hot day, so 150 is very normal. Okay, 47 degrees, 46 degrees, and it will just continue dropping down as 10 minutes go by. So, and right now it's probably around 78 degrees in here, almost 80. So. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna turn the car off, and we're gonna see equalize out, and we're gonna finish the process. So, before we do that, we're gonna just go ahead and finish the whole system so it's fully charged up. So, This is what you do next. You press the button. It says here, close the high side. So we're gonna go close it, which is counterclockwise, right? Closing means you're shutting the valve off. All right, good. Go next. Right now, what it's doing is it's going to use the vacuum in the low side. It's going to take the rest of the Freon in these hoses right now, and it's basically going to take it from here, which is high pressure, and bring it to the low side right in here. It's going to dump the rest of it in there. All right, it did that. It processed that. So now it says close all valves, disconnect couplers. So I'm going to close them all out. Disconnected. This one, use your pops. There we go. Disconnect it. All right. Now we still have pressure in there. It's going to purge that out and throw it back in the tank. If you have any oil to add, which we don't, you would do that. That's another video on how to do that process. All right, now we're clearing the system out. I'm not gonna let you sit here and watch this whole thing through, but once it clears out, you're done. Process is over, turn the machine off, you're ready to go.